In the top left, we have trailing 0-1, the red Zerg player. He is TLO. I think we're in the semis now. I believe this is the semifinal for the North American ESL Pro Tour Weekly. In the bottom right, leading the series, we have jumped in game number 2. Unfortunately, there are so many people casting this stuff. They're like, the bus left me at the train station. I probably shouldn't have been at the train station if I was trying to catch a bus. In the bottom right, he is Polt. And yeah, this is a semifinal. The other semifinal being played out right now is Denver versus Parting. So the winner of this series will play the winner of that series. We are still on best of 3s. Man, today's match is really moving fast. I was not sure how much time I was going to spend commentating today. I had no idea. And then, because the European Cup today went so long. It went like 2 or 3 hours past where we are right now. Like, this NA Cup started at 2 o'clock and we're in the semis at 5. I think the Europe one, if they had started at 2 o'clock for us, they would be finishing at like 7 or 8, which is just gnarly. Their grand finals was like a TvT, went super long. What I'm trying to say is hashtag Terran patch, ladies and gentlemen. Hero Marine and Clem played in the finals. TvT leads to long games. Obviously, this is a problem that needs to be fixed. Can we please get a hashtag Terran patch? And exciting matches we've got. It was really nice to be able to see Polt's play earlier today. He had a fantastic series against Cham, and we really got to see him flex that bio muscle, doing not only a 3cc kind of 2-1-1 build, but also going for the battlecruiser rush into bio. I do feel I didn't get to see what happened in game number 1, but I do feel like there is certainly some flexibility missing. But I kind of liked a little bit of the range in the openers. At least Polt's willing to play around with the openers a little bit. I still don't expect him to really try for the mech stuff. I do think being able to mix it in is very important because so many Terran players do it nowadays. That honestly, if you're a Zerg player and you know that your Terran enemy is only ever going to play bio, that really helps you a lot. Like, just not even having to think about it, not having to worry about it. You're like, all right, I don't even need to think about swarm hosts against this guy. Fast corruptors, meh. And I did think that was an interesting adjustment that Cham made in his series against Polt, where he opened with the Mutalisks against the battlecruiser rush. And normally that's bad because they won't kill the BC. And then once there's 3 battlecruisers, the Mutalisks just die really, really, really fast. But it doesn't really matter. Apparently this is the last quarterfinal is what I'm being told. So they're catching up on some of the matches. But yeah. And just to clarify for some people that are asking in the chat, if Denver wins, we are allowed to cast the finals. So, yeah. So basically, yeah. Some people were asking about that. Some Zerg players don't like me because I say things when I lose ladder games that they take personally, which is unfortunate. But they've got a few several month old VODs of me losing games, and they are trying to hold it against me. It is going to be a battlecruiser rush out of Polt, and I'm being informed that the winner of this match will play against Scarlet, which should be fantastic, as we do have the Hellions trying to take that map control. And there's the safety Banshee. And you know what? The more I think about it, you know, the battlecruiser can kill the overlords, right? You don't need to rush the Viking. I like the Viking as an anti-scouting thing. If the Zerg doesn't open with overlord speed, then they don't get to know what you're doing, really. But then again, they play against me, so they know it's always going to be battlecruisers anyway. But sees that it's not going to be anything aggressive. There's no Roach Warren. The lair is not the fastest lair in the history of lairs. So these Hellions are just trying to be a little bit dangerous out on the map, putting on some pressure to Dario. Meanwhile, Polt, he's going to start up his stem. And we all know Polt's going to play bio the whole way through. If he plays mech, I'd love to be wrong, by the way, for anyone that's like, Polt has done it occasionally. I'm like, dude, I want to be wrong. Believe me, I want to see variety because I feel like Polt's bio has been a bit sloppy here and there. It's looked really good so far today from everything that I've been able to see. He had a somewhat slow start in his match against Cham, and then once he got rolling, Cham just completely fell apart. And of course, the competition is still going to be stiff. The competition is still going to be fierce. So let's see what ends up happening here. Polt's going to move over and start building them tanks. Battlecruiser is done. Now, what's interesting is TLO's response. And you know what? Actually, never mind. It's not interesting. I already kind of talked about this. It's only going to be one battlecruiser. So he doesn't need to go for a Spire. He just goes right up into the Hydralisk Den. He's not really thinking about dealing with multiple battlecruisers. He's not concerned with that. He's not worried about that. His biggest concerns as far as this game go are all mostly going to be about that bio, about the follow-up, about what happens next. Because the battlecruiser can be annoying, but when you're playing mech, the majority of mech players in this meta usually will end up going for 3 battlecruisers. They'll get Yamato, and they use that to snowball a little bit. If the battlecruisers can do damage, sometimes they can outright win you the game. This battlecruiser is super dead. Like we said, Polt's really not focused on that as much. He's much more narrowing down the mid game for his mech play, or excuse me, for his bio play. Right, third command center is landed. He's going to build a few depots to block off the left side. This is Nightshade, so you have a very open third base, which is nice for the Hellions to try to put this pressure on early on. It gives you some Xel'Naga Caverns vibes on this third, really. Although this would be the natural in Xel'Naga Caverns, hence why we don't do maps like that anymore. But 1-1 is finishing up for both players. Upgrades very close. One thing that definitely helped Polt versus Cham was a bit of a discrepancy in the upgrades between those players. But Polt being matched blow for blow by TLO. And you know what else? TLO's got this third. TLO did a really good job getting this fourth base situated in a way that allowed him to get the creep out there too. And that's one of the nice things about Nightshade is if you spread the creep from this point, you're going to get to the third because it's going to generate its own creep. And then you can pretty easily get down to where that fourth base is. So I really like the position already. Polt is being able to get a lot of creep tumors though. And Dario doesn't have Bane speed just yet. In a few seconds he will. But very smart from TLO because honestly, if you try to take an engagement versus these Stim Marines with the medevac support off creep without Baneling speed, okay, you know what? Even on creep without Baneling speed, it's really, really easy for the Marines to just target fire down all the Banelings. And, you know, a Baneling is barely... Actually, I guess if you think about the total resource weight, the cost of a Baneling is pretty similar to a Hydralisk, right? The Hydra's a little bit more gas, a little bit less, or a little bit less or same minerals, right? So if you can get rid of all the Banes and still have the Marines left over to trade against the Hydras, that's absolutely massive. So TLO trying to push this creep out, but he's defended the fourth base very well so far. As Polt is going to do what we know him to do best. He's got the fourth command center going up behind his push. He's left the siege tanks at home. He's transitioned into double factory tank production. Great Baneling detonation by Dario is going to eliminate the majority of the Marines in one of those medevacs. Takes a lot of the power out of these push because Zergs have learned from Serral and Raynor. Just build a crap ton of Zerglings. Like a really ridiculous amount of Lings can do so much. And we haven't even seen Dario try to get on the counterattack, the counteroffensive, right? You've got so many depots. The tanks over here, they can't really effectively cover the entrance to the third base or the side of it. But Polt has done a good job of being out on the map. He's been aggressive enough that Dario hasn't really been able to try to send units out for those flanks. And maybe now this is where we're going to see it. 2 medevacs load up in the southwest corner. Polt, now that he's establishing, or excuse me, now that he's going to attempt to establish his fourth base, he wants to move out with all the tanks. Look at this, Dario, so ready. He's got the Lings already headed over, Banelings ready, and then the Hydras to get to work on the command center. And now Polt has to unsiege. Actually, I guess you don't want to unsiege. He's gonna have to stem all of his Marines over. So he saves the base, but that's also nice because it buys a little bit more time for TLO. Could continue to spread his creep on this side, move his tech forward. These medevacs haven't really done anything. In fact, I think they're both gonna die with almost all their Marines inside. And that's That's unfortunate. Dario, there we go. There's the big counterattack we were talking about. I was saying it's hard to cover the flank on the third base on this map in particular. Dario takes beautiful advantage of it. Needs to make sure he does not get cornered here. May need to trade out his Banes to get the Hydras out of there. The Lings are going to try to come and soak some sun, but the Planetary Fortress over here. Really good defense from Polt. I thought he was going to take a lot more damage there. Losing the depots has supply blocked him. But the nice thing for Terran is that as the game progresses, it's so much easier to sustain those types of losses as Terran, because you're going to build a bunch of orbital commands for meals anyway, which is something that Polt has done very consistently over the course of today's cup. So I don't expect to see the supply be an issue for him, as you know, we haven't really seen that. This fourth base is going to finally get poked away. It looks like no. Dario going for the flank. Baneling's on the right side. Hydra Bane on the north, but Polt, all of the siege tanks are still alive. The first one just barely falls. He's got so much firepower. GG. Polt takes the 2-0 over TLO.